What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for NBA Saturday, May 1st. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for today's NBA slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, we have a 10-game slate tonight, so let's take a look at the point guard position. I like Ricky Rubio from the Minnesota Timberwolves playing the New Orleans Pelicans, who have the 10th worst defense overall, and they give up the 6th most fantasy points to opposing point guards. Ricky Rubio has averaged 24.8 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 26 minutes per game with a 16% usage rate. He scored 48, 10, and 22 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 31, 17, and 21 minutes. He's projected at 23.7 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.5 times value. He's 4,300 FanDuel salary, and he's 300 more on DraftKings. So Vegas thinks there's going to be 235 points scored in this game. So a ton of fantasy points to go around here. It's a great matchup. So I like Ricky Rubio as a value play here versus the New Orleans Pelicans. Okay, another point guard that I like is Lonzo Ball from the New Orleans Pelicans playing the Minnesota Timberwolves, who have the 2nd worst defense overall, and they give up the 3rd most fantasy points to opposing point guards. Lonzo Ball has averaged 32.3 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 31 minutes per game with a 20% usage rate. He scored 38, 62, and 41 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 31, 36, and 37 minutes. He's projected at 33 fantasy points here tonight, but I think he can score you 35 fantasy points or more, get you 5 times value or more. He's 7,000 FanDuel salary and 200 more on DraftKings. So I like this pick because he scored 31, 34, 35, and 50 fantasy points in his last 4 games versus the Timberwolves. So I like Lonzo Ball here versus the Minnesota Timberwolves. Okay everyone, it's time to announce the winner of our $100 weekly PayPal giveaway. And the winner is Darius Mills. Darius Mills, congratulations. You are the winner of this week's $100 PayPal giveaway. Please reply to the comment to collect our prize. Now guys, just as a quick note, we just released a DFS contest, a free DFS contest on Draft Dashboard for MLB and NBA for DraftKings and FanDuel. There's over $500 available in the prize pool, and this is a totally free contest you can enter as a Draft Dashboard member. So make sure to click the link in the description of this video, give Draft Dashboard a try, and you can start playing in our free DFS contest and compete to win some money. Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching. If you want to enter the drawing for $100 PayPal, all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won, and then we'll send you $100 PayPal. So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you. Okay, let's take a look at the shooting guard position. I like Caris LeVert from the Indiana Pacers playing the Oklahoma City Thunder, who have the absolute worst defense overall, and they give up the 4th most fantasy points to opposing shooting guards. Caris LeVert has averaged 35.4 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 31 minutes per game with a 28% usage rate. He scored 45, 28, and 34 fantasy points in his last 3 games, playing 36, 23, and 29 minutes. He's projected at 36.2 fantasy points here tonight, but I think he can score close to 40 or over 40 fantasy points and get you 5 times value or more. He's 8,100 FanDuel salary, and he's 200 more on DraftKings. So he scored 56, 33, and 29 fantasy points in his last 3 games versus the OKC, and he scored over 40 fantasy points in 3 out of his last 5 games. So this is a great matchup. We know he has some big upside, so I like Karis LeVert here versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. Okay, another shooting guard that I like is Andrew Wiggins from the Golden State Warriors playing the Houston Rockets, who have the 2nd worst defense overall, and they give up the 3rd most fantasy points to opposing shooting guards. Andrew Wiggins has averaged 31.5 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 33 minutes per game with a 23% usage rate. He scored 42, 36, and 34 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 38, 30, and 37 minutes. He's projected at 32.7 fantasy points here tonight, but I think he can score 35 fantasy points or more, get you 5 times value or more. He's 6,900 FanDuel salary, and he's 200 more on DraftKings. So Vegas thinks there's going to be 234 points scored in this game, and Andrew Wiggins scored 41, 29, 34, and 40 fantasy points in his last 4 games versus the Rockets. It's a great matchup, so I like Andrew Wiggins here versus the Houston Rockets. Okay, let's take a look at the small forward position. I like Kevin Porter Jr. from the Houston Rockets playing the Golden State Warriors, who have the 9th worst defense overall, and they give up the 10th most fantasy points to opposing small forwards. Kevin Porter Jr. has averaged 30.8 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 32 minutes per game with a 26% usage rate. He scored 71 and 20 fantasy points in the last 2 games, playing 41 and 35 minutes. He's projected at 33.8 fantasy points here tonight, and on FanDuel, that's 5.5 times value. He's only 6,100 FanDuel salary, and he's 1,300 more on DraftKings. So I love that FanDuel price. We know Vegas thinks there's going to be 234 points scored in this game, so I like Kevin Porter Jr. here versus the Golden State Warriors. Okay, another small forward that I like is Kent Bazemore from the Golden State Warriors playing the Houston Rockets, who have the 2nd worst defense overall, and they give up the 2nd most fantasy points to opposing small forwards. Kent Bazemore, he scored 34 fantasy points last game in 32 minutes with a 19% usage rate. Now, he's only projected at 23.3 fantasy points here tonight, but if he's going to play over 30 minutes, you could bump that up to 28 fantasy points. That would be 5 times value. He's 5,400 FanDuel salary, and he's 800 less on DraftKings. So I love that DraftKings price. We know Vegas thinks there's going to be 234 points scored in this game. And Kent Bazemore, he scored 31, 1, 32, and 29 fantasy points in the last 4 games versus the Rockets. So I like Kent Bazemore here versus the Houston Rockets. Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups. Okay, let's take a look at the power forward position. I keep biting on this player. He just has a really attractive FanDuel price, but I like Aaron Gordon from the Denver Nuggets playing the LA Clippers, who have a good defense overall, and they've been good versus opposing power forwards, but Aaron Gordon has averaged 27.4 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 28 minutes per game with a 22% usage rate. He scored 24, 16, and 27 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 23, 29, and 22 minutes. He's projected at 25.6 fantasy points here tonight, and on FanDuel, that's 5.6 times value. He's only $4,600 FanDuel salary, and he's $600 more on DraftKings. So I love that FanDuel price. Vegas thinks there's going to be 224 points scored in this game, and Aaron Gordon has scored 44, 17, 32, 28, and 29 fantasy points in his last 5 games versus the Clippers. So we just have to hope that he can get 25 minutes or more, even though I think he can hit value on FanDuel in just 20 minutes. So I like Aaron Gordon here versus the LA Clippers. Okay, another power forward that I like is Christian Wood from the Houston Rockets playing the Golden State Warriors, who have the 9th worst defense overall, and they give up the 6th most fantasy points to opposing power forwards. Christian Wood has averaged 39.8 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 32 minutes per game with a 26% usage rate. He scored 51 and 54 fantasy points in his last 2 games, playing 39 and 37 minutes. He's projected at 42.2 fantasy points here tonight. That's just about 5 times value. He's $8,700 FanDuel salary and the same price on DraftKings. So we know Vegas thinks there's going to be 234 points scored in this game. So I like Christian Wood here versus the Golden State Warriors. Okay, moving on to the center position. I like Bam Adebayo from the Miami Heat playing the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have the 13th worst defense overall. And although they've been pretty good versus opposing centers, Bam Adebayo has averaged 41.7 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 34 minutes per game with a 24% usage rate. He scored 38, 44, and 47 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 32, 36, and 35 minutes. He's projected at 42.3 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.1 times value. He's $8,300 FanDuel salary, and he's $500 more on DraftKings. He scored 44, 38, 66, 33, and 35 fantasy points in his last 5 games versus the Cavs. So I like Bam Adebayo here versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. Another center that I like is Jonas Valenjunus from the Memphis Grizzlies playing the Orlando Magic, who have the 5th worst defense overall. And although they've been pretty good versus opposing centers, Jonas Valenjunus, he's averaged 36.6 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 28 minutes per game with a 23% usage rate. He scored 41, 30, and 17 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 26, 24, and 23 minutes. He's projected at 35.5 fantasy points here tonight. On FanDuel, that's 5.4 times value because he's only $6,600 FanDuel salary and he's $1,100 more on DraftKings. So I love that FanDuel price. He scored 41, 47, 22, 64, and 40 fantasy points in his last 5 games versus the Magic. And Vegas thinks there's going to be 224.5 points scored in this game. So I like Jonas Valenjunus here versus the Orlando Magic. If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again and good luck.